Right, so, oh boy, the Tories. They've cheered, gushed over leaving the EU, cheered and gushed over freedom, cheered and gushed over leaving that blasted economic and trading bloc, torn it all up. And now this week they're cheering about having joined a new trading bloc, which the right-wing hack media, the same ones that cheered the two fingers to Europe that Brexit delivered, never mind we'd cut our other arm off in the process, but are now falling over themselves to sell you joining this other trade bloc as being the greatest thing since sliced bread, the greatest thing in British history. Well, hey, the Tories. When it isn't. We have to start this story with the front page of the Daily Express, I feel. I'm sorry, it is the Daily Express, a paper in possession of less journalistic integrity than a Desperate Dan comic strip. They blasted out on their front page £12 trillion Brexit trade boost, which actually made one of their Snowmageddon stories actually seem credible. Joining them on the bullshit bandwagon, though, are GBBs, GB News, because of course they are. Another anything to take a swipe at miserable Ramona's outlet, who have also bragged of a £12 trillion Brexit trade boost, as the UK joins giant Indo-Pacific trade group, though notably and hilariously, if not predictably, they've already fallen afoul of Twitter's new community notes feature, where approved Twitter accounts can provide important context to tweets, and indeed, important context has been provided. You see, the £12 trillion figure is actually the collective GDP of all the countries signed up to this trade bloc, the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. Just rolls off the tongue, that one, doesn't it? Though I suppose single market was taken already. Abbreviated unimaginatively to CPTPP, the other members of this group are Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam. The UK has just become member nation number 12. So we left a trade bloc of 27 other countries on our doorstep and joined a group of countries, most of which aren't even in the same hemisphere as us. The phrase carbon footprint just screams at you. Anyway, let's shred this deal, because it is a big fat con. We joined a trade bloc collectively accounting for some 12% of global trade and worth £12 trillion. But we've walked away from a bloc worth £16.3 trillion annually by way of collective GDP. The business share of that we could have had as part of the EU single market. But no, we can't have that. We've Brexited. No more of those European sorts telling us what to do, but we'll just join another bloc where the same rules, by and large, will apply as well. But it's a post-Brexit trade deal the Tories will bleat. We've proved we can do it. Freedom to chain ourselves to another trade bloc, as this blatantly is. Not that I have any issues with trade blocs at all, you understand. I'm simply highlighting the hypocrisy here. But so what? You've got to deal with another bloc. If this is so good, what's in it for us? We have new markets to access, they say. We can export cars around the planet now. Cheese, beef, lamb, bring it on. But hang on a minute, hold the bus. Just as we can absolutely export these things, I doubt New Zealand will want much of our lamb. And in fact, there's a significant danger that lamb production on the scale of New Zealand's can put our British meat producers here out of business, as it will become even cheaper and easier to sell than it is already. There are no protections in place for this, and this is a concern and complaint going back to 2021, which has remained unaddressed. The Tories need a good news story, though. They need it bad now. This has been a while coming, this plan, this deal, but there's gaping issues with it. Another thing the Tories and their sycophantic media nonsense noisemakers are keeping conspicuously quiet about is that of these 11 other CPTPP nations, we already had free trade agreements in place with 9 of them, Brunei and Malaysia being the exceptions. Their combined GDP, those two, being a grand total of roughly 1.5 trillion, the vast majority of that being Malaysia, and then being the 145th and 31st largest economies globally. That's all that's been added to things we already had in place. As such, the only benefit of this entire deal is seen to be a benefit to Malaysia, who can now export their habitat-destroying, rainforest-wrecking palm oil tariff-free to us. It's ironic the stuff ends up in many cosmetics, because this deal is completely cosmetic. If you want an even bigger laugh, though, we can now export whiskey to Malaysia in return. Way! Though the fact 80% of the population is Muslim, same goes for Brunei, it might be a bit of a tough pitch. We gain virtually nothing from what we already had. We've just bound ourselves to a trade bloc again for the sake of some positive headlines for the Tories, when it would have been a far better idea, if joining a bloc is so important to our economy, to just rejoin the one we just bloody left. It's not a Ramonery thing to say, it's economic sense. Many leavers might well be asking themselves, why did we leave one trade bloc just to tie ourselves to another one? And you'd be right to ask the Tories that. Why did we do that? Well, were you actually lied to about it all? So all in, we benefit from trade with two additional, smaller economies. Little wonder when all is calculated and worked out, leaving the EU single market has cost us 4% of our GDP, but we've gained from this deal just 0.08% of our GDP back again. For every £4 we got from EU single market membership, this one will give us 8 pence. Or where we got £1,500 per head from the single market, this one will give us just 26 quid. All in all, to our economy, this deal is worth just £1.8 billion over 10 years. We have football teams in this country where the squads are worth more than that. You know the biggest scam of all, though, after you become adequately sick and tired of Kemi Badenoch, the business secretary who signed the deal in New Zealand on behalf of the government, grinning inanely all over the place. It's not even ratified yet. They're saying we're members now, but it's not the case. We've signed a piece of paper. The other 11 CPTPP nations now have to vote and ratify our joining their little club. And that process isn't expected to be complete until the end of next year. The Tories would rather lie to you than confess their handling of Brexit, and rebuilding our economy from the fallout from that is both innumerate and barmy. They're taking you for a fool if you believe anything they say on this, so don't be a fool. If you're buying into this, you're being gaslit to the point you should be wearing a T-shirt saying, sponsored by Eon. It's a red meat to the gammon's news story. It's not reality. Though the irony is we'll be able to export our gammon tariff-free to Malaysia too. Whoops, that won't go down any better than the whiskey though, will it? Thanks for watching. I hope you found the video useful. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel if you did, for new content delivered daily. In the meantime, here's a video recommendation amongst hundreds of others at your fingertips, where it might be of a little surprise that a tariff-free trade deal for palm oil is in the offing, when Rishi Sunak is apparently no longer interested in climate change policy whatsoever and has said as much. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.